Hello, I'm Chuka Ebede. Every day, behind the facade of ordinary life, stories unfold that are so disturbing, so deeply unsettling, they demand our attention. Today we're going to pull back the curtain on some of the most recent and headline-making cases that have sent shockwaves across the country and even around the world. These aren't just news reports, they are chilling reminders of the darkness that can lurk where we least expect it, in our homes, in our communities, and sometimes in the vows we make to the people we are supposed to love the most. We'll be looking at cases that have captured the national and international spotlight, forcing us all to ask some very difficult questions. The stories we're about to explore are complex, they're tragic, and they are shocking. From a honeymoon that ends not in blissful memories but in a brutal, calculated murder, to a suburban tragedy born from a web of deceit and betrayal, to a decades-old mystery finally brought to light, these are the cases that have people talking. They challenge our sense of security and force us to confront the uncomfortable truth about human nature. The details are often hard to hear, but understanding them is crucial. These aren't just headlines, they are real people, real families, and real lives irrevocably shattered. We're going to delve deep into the evidence, the investigations, and the human element behind these crimes. What drives someone to commit such acts? How do investigators piece together the puzzles left behind? And what justice, if any, can be found for the victims and their loved ones? The answers are rarely simple, so take a seat. Join me as we navigate these harrowing narratives, trying to make sense of the senseless and shining a light on the shadows that too often go unnoticed. It's a journey into the heart of some of today's most compelling true crime stories. A honeymoon. It's supposed to be the romantic start to a lifetime of happiness. For Sonam Raghuvanshi and his new bride Sonam, their trip to the picturesque hills of Meghalaya seemed like the perfect beginning. They were young, in love, and had their whole future ahead of them. But this idyllic picture would soon be shattered by a sinister plot, one that would turn a dream vacation into a horrifying nightmare. In a place known for its breathtaking beauty, an ugly and violent secret was about to be revealed, leaving a family destroyed and a nation in disbelief. What happened on that trip? The story is more disturbing than you can imagine. The initial reports were confusing, panicked. Sonam claimed they were attacked by masked men, a random act of violence on a secluded road. She told police a story of a robbery gone wrong, a tragic accident. But as investigators began to dig deeper, her story started to unravel. There were inconsistencies, details that just didn't add up. Why were there no signs of a struggle as she described? Why did her demeanor seem so calm, so detached, for a woman who had just witnessed her husband's brutal murder? The police were suspicious, and their focus soon shifted from unknown assailants to the one person who was there, the grieving widow. The investigation took a dramatic turn when police uncovered a secret that Sonam had desperately tried to hide. She wasn't just a grieving widow. She was allegedly involved in an extramarital affair. This wasn't a random act of violence. It was, according to prosecutors, a meticulously planned execution. The motive? To eliminate her husband so she could be with her lover. Mobile phone records, call logs, and messages painted a chilling picture of conspiracy. The police allege that Sonam, along with her lover and his accomplices, orchestrated the entire event, luring Raja to his death under the guise of a romantic getaway. It was a cold, calculated betrayal. The public reaction was immediate and intense. The story of the honeymoon murder spread like wildfire, dominating news channels and social media. The sheer audacity of the crime, a wife allegedly plotting her husband's murder during what should have been the most romantic time of their lives, sparked nationwide outrage. People were horrified by the cold-blooded nature of the betrayal. It was a story that struck a nerve, a cautionary tale about the darkness that can hide behind a smiling face and a wedding ring. The case became a symbol of love and trust twisted into something monstrous. As the legal proceedings began, every detail was scrutinized by a captivated public. The evidence presented by the prosecution seemed overwhelming. The digital trail of the conspiracy, the conflicting statements, the alleged motive. For Raja's family, the grief was compounded by the ultimate betrayal. They had welcomed Sonam into their family, only to find she was allegedly the architect of their son's demise. The case continues to unfold, but it serves as a stark and chilling reminder that sometimes, the greatest danger doesn't come from a stranger in the dark, but from the person sleeping right next to you. Let's travel now to Reston, Virginia, a quiet, affluent suburb of Washington, D.C. It's the kind of place where people feel safe, where neighbors know each other, and where violent crime feels like something that only happens on television. But in the winter of 2023, that illusion of safety was shattered. The murders of Joseph Ryan and Christine Banfield in their own home sent a tremor of fear through the community. Initially, it looked like a tragic but straightforward case. But as detectives with the Fairfax County Police started their work, they would uncover a story far more complex and disturbing than anyone could have guessed. The initial person of interest was the couple's own son, Brendan Banfield. He was the one who reported the crime, and early on, the evidence seemed to point in his direction. It appeared to be a domestic dispute that had escalated to an unthinkable level of violence. The community was in shock, struggling to reconcile the image of the family they knew with the horrific crime that had taken place. For months, the investigation seemed to focus solely on Brendan, building a case against him. It was a narrative that seemed to make a grim kind of sense, but there was a twist coming, a dark secret that would change everything. That twist had a name: Juliana Perez Magalhaes. She was the family's au pair, a live-in caregiver who was present in the home on the day of the murders. At first she was treated as a key witness, someone who could help police understand what happened, but her story had holes. And as investigators looked closer at her, and her relationship with Brendan Banfield, a new and more sinister picture began to emerge. They weren't just an employer and an employee, they were allegedly having an affair. Suddenly, the entire case was turned on its head. This wasn't just about a son and his parents anymore. The grand jury delivered a bombshell. They didn't just indict Brendan Banfield for the murders, they also indicted Juliana Perez Magalhaes. The prosecution's new theory was shocking. This wasn't a crime of passion committed by one person, but a cold-blooded conspiracy between two lovers to eliminate an obstacle. The motive, they alleged, was to get rid of Brendan's parents so they could be together. The indictment painted a chilling portrait of manipulation and deceit, a plot hatched within the very walls of the victim's home. The quiet suburban street had been the setting for a deadly betrayal. The Reston double murder case is now a tangled web of accusations and counter-accusations. Two people, once lovers, now stand accused of an unspeakable crime. The indictments have left the community reeling, forced to confront the possibility that the horror was not a random act, but a calculated plot born from a forbidden relationship. As the case moves toward trial, it serves as a harrowing example of how secrets and lies can fester beneath a tranquil surface, eventually erupting into violence that destroys families and devastates an entire community. The truth is yet to be decided in a court of law, but the damage is already done. Sometimes justice doesn't arrive like a thunderclap. It arrives like a whisper, a faint echo from the past that grows louder over decades until it can no longer be ignored. This is the story of Diane Peterson, a 24-year-old teacher in San Jose, California, whose life was brutally cut short in 1973. She was stabbed to death in her own apartment. For half a century, her case went cold. Her killer walked free, her family was left without answers, and her memory was shrouded in an unsolved mystery. It was a wound on the community that never truly healed, a ghost story whispered among generations. For 50 long years, detectives worked the case. Leads were followed, suspects were interviewed, but nothing ever stuck. The file grew thicker, filled with dead ends and frustration. Generations of police officers inherited the case, each one hoping to be the one to finally close it. For Diane's family and friends, the passage of time did little to dull the pain or the desperate need for answers. Who could have done this, and why? The lack of resolution was its own form of torture, a constant nagging question mark hanging over their lives. The case became a part of San Jose's history, a tragic local legend. The breakthrough came not from a new piece of DNA evidence or a forgotten fingerprint, but from something far more human, a conscience. In 2023, a man named John Woodward, now in his late 60s and living in the Netherlands, was arrested. The key? Woodward had allegedly confessed the crime to a friend years ago, a secret that friend carried for decades. When investigators, armed with new forensic genealogy techniques that pointed toward Woodward, re-interviewed that friend, the story finally came out. It was a stunning development, a voice from the past providing the key to unlock a 50-year-old mystery. The confession, as relayed by the friend, was chilling. Woodward, who was Diane's roommate's brother, allegedly admitted to the crime. The motive remains murky, lost to the fog of time, but the act itself was clear. The arrest of Woodward, extradited from the Netherlands to face justice in California, was a moment of profound significance. It was a testament to the relentless dedication of the San Jose Police Department, who refused to let Diane be forgotten. For them, it wasn't a cold case. It was an open promise to a victim and her family. The resolution of Diane Peterson's murder after 50 years is a powerful story of hope and perseverance. It provides a measure of closure, however late, to her surviving loved ones. It tells the community that no crime is ever truly forgotten, that justice, no matter how long it takes, can still be served. Woodward will now face the legal consequences of an act committed a lifetime ago. For the rest of us, it's a profound reminder that the past is never truly past, and that sometimes, the truth has a way of finding its way to the light, even after half a century in the dark. The cases we've examined today: a honeymoon turned into a death plot, a suburban home hiding a deadly conspiracy, and a 50-year-old murder finally solved, are more than just shocking stories. They leave behind a trail of devastation that extends far beyond the crime scene tape. For the families of Raja Raghuvanshi, Joseph Ryan, Christine Banfield, and Diane Peterson, the pain is immeasurable. Their lives are forever divided into a before and an after. The public is left to grapple with the unsettling reality that such darkness can exist so close to home, shaking our fundamental sense of trust and safety. These events are not just headlines, they are deep, lasting scars on families and communities. The impact of these crimes forces us to be more aware, to look more closely at the world around us. It's a difficult but necessary lesson in vigilance. While we can't live our lives in constant fear, these stories encourage us to be more mindful, to trust our instincts, and to speak up when something feels wrong. Staying informed about these cases isn't about sensationalism. It's about understanding the dynamics of crime, the importance of justice, and the incredible resilience of the human spirit in the face of unimaginable tragedy. It's about honoring the victims by ensuring their stories are heard and that lessons are learned. Thank you for joining me on this deep dive into these complex and heart-wrenching cases. The pursuit of justice is often a long and arduous road, but it's a journey we must follow. Remember to stay informed, stay vigilant, and continue to support the efforts of law enforcement and victims advocates who work tirelessly to bring closure and peace to those affected by crime. I'm Chuka Ebede. Be safe, and I'll see you next time.